I was going to work on some sculpting this weekend, but, got busy with stuff around the house. And it dawned on me, I haven't done a how-to video in a long time. So, came up with this little plan to show you guys how I could make some sci-fi shipping containers. I've been working on some for a while for various little projects I've been wanting to do, including some spaceships, some terrain pieces, things like that. So, pretty straightforward operation. The ones I'm making, I'm sourcing from stuff around the house, of course, just like almost everything else I do. And I mean, it's pretty easy. It's really easy. I mean, you really just kind of go around your house looking for interesting shapes. If it's a shipping container, typically you're going to want it to be something like, hey, is that an oil tanker maybe? Could be a long tubey kind of thing, or could be something kind of boxy, well, not this, but could be something like, one of these things. So yeah, these are going to be used as shipping containers. Could you use them for 40K? Probably. I mean, this one you probably could. I would even venture to say they would make for interesting large shipping containers, or some sort of terrain piece like a generator, or some sort of water filtration system, or some other weird little doohickey, some kind of sci-fi purposed thing, right? I mean, lots of cool little shapes on there, right? Which, at least that's what I thought. So, today I want to paint these up. I'm going to show you how I made these. Pretty obvious, though. And we'll start with that. So, I got these, and actually maybe these two, from these, I don't know if you guys like nori or seaweed. I like eating the seaweed. I'm not fond of this particular flavor, avocado oil. The chili lime is pretty good, though, I gotta say it. Again, not sponsored. So, and these are fun to get some scissors and chop them up and put them in some soups. If you like stuff like miso soup, or you like sushi, you can make some fun things with these. But on their own, they're pretty tasty. Okay, what are we working on? Oh yeah. But what I noticed is they come in these really cool little containers. Like this. So I started collecting them. I rinsed them out for the most part. I think some of these are a little dirty probably still. And all I did to make this one is just glue these two pieces together. Boom, done. This one is made from a slightly larger container, which that's fine too. But for my purposes, I thought it was a little too big. I didn't want a big giant kind of like, somebody forgot to let the paint dry. I didn't want a great big tall one, but I did want something flat that I could attach to something else. Yeah, kids, let your paint dry. I'm gonna have to clean that now. But what I did is man, look at that. This one's dry. Weird. What I did for this is I literally just took, and again, this is if you just don't have a lot of stuff around the house. Plastic card is super expensive, in my opinion. And when I say plastic card, I'm talking about polystyrene sheets, like these. So this is a plastic polystyrene, or I don't know if it's polyethylene. I think it's just polystyrene. But you can get plastic card or plastic sheets like this in different thicknesses. Kind of gets expensive if all you're going to use it for is to cover a large flat space. Especially if it's not something that has to have any like strong structural integrity. What I chose for mine was cereal. Yeah, I just took this big cereal box and I cut a little piece out of the back of it and glued this. By the way, use super glue. The cardboard is pretty absorbent. I made it so that the smooth side is on the outside because that's the side I want to take paint. And this smooth side's got a coating on it. It's less likely to absorb all the paint and get all weird. That's an interesting texture. I don't have to mess with that. Gosh, I'm gonna have to clean that up now. But yeah, you can just glue this to the underside and then take a pair of scissors, trim around the edge to get any of the excess you don't want off, and go from there. Pretty simple. Let me clean my fingers real quick, and I'll be right back, and we'll paint this and clean some of that mess up. I'm gonna put this one on the side to dry. All right, I'm back. So we're gonna work on this guy. We're gonna clean that mess up. I have some paint thinner here somewhere. I should be able to, and it's probably still dry. I probably don't even need paint thinner, but just in case, let me go grab some. Perhaps this is an omen of such a disaster. I do not know. I would keep mine locked away. I don't like anybody getting into my paint thinner. But let's see. Yeah, it looks like I can probably still clean this up without using it. Wow, that's really wet. I don't know what that's about. I had a trouble with one of my paint spray nozzles. Oh, that worked out pretty good. Guess I don't need this stuff. Next time, paint thinner, next time. Someday your time to shine will come. All right, let's zoom out of here. Woo, look at that. That's a zoomy. Zoomy zoom. Zoomy zoom zoom. So, I kind of like the idea of painting, I was going to do either like a khaki color, which I was going to use this yellow ochre for, but I'm kind of leaning towards blue. And I've got these two blues, the super cheap blue and super expensive blue. Don't really want to blow a bunch of expensive blue on something that's just going to be sitting there. It's not like it's a fancy piece or anything. So maybe I'll use this cheap blue. And I don't know if I've got any other cheap blues around. Let me see. It's not a color I've spent a lot of time painting, honestly. Well, because I'm not sure if this is a very opaque one. Doesn't say if it's opaque. That's how you know it's cheap. Just says deep something or other, blue. Well, let's find out how deep it is. Yeah, that might be good. That might be good. Doesn't look like it's going to be too transparent. Let's find out. Let's find out, shall we? Hey, what's going on? Making some sci-fi shipping containers out of stuff that you find around the house. Pretty cool. So, yeah, again, this was just a piece of plastic that was glued together with another piece of plastic. Pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do is just paint it a solid color. Again, sorry if this is so boring that you can't stand to watch it for more than 5 seconds. It's okay. But gonna do my basic slap a base color on, put a dry brush on it, put a wash on it. Maybe in this case I might add some little dings and scratches of metal. Maybe where the paint's missing. Gotta eat these. The other thing these are kind of fun for is because I love the little ridges on the bottom. I use them as paint basins, you know, just to clean up my brushes. Put a little water in there and just, or if I want to dry brush something, I just need to wipe it off on something. These are really handy. They're cheap. Hey, thanks for joining. Don't know who's here. Mr. Voidbringer. Hey, what's going on? So, nothing fancy here. Just a very basic tutorial on how to make your own little box shipping containers. I might put a label or two or something on here just to make it interesting. Maybe some graffiti. Don't know. If you want to save yourself some time on these, you could always base coat them with the primer in a color that you're going to use. So let's say you're going to do a whole bunch in an army green or something, or you want to get some rusty ones in there. Just start with a really cheap, you can go with like a gray primer or a sort of a oxide red primer, and then just go over it, dry brush it with some other colors. I like to do things the hard way. Actually, I probably would have gone with gray. I think gray is probably a good neutral color, especially if you're going to ding it up and make it scratchy. Your pump station. Oh yeah, well, this would make a really good mecha sci-fi pump station storage container. I mean, look at all the cool little bits and doodads. You can paint these like black or silver to make them into latches. It's got all these cool little ridges on here. But yeah, I'll probably put some kind of like alien text or something on this little label area. Maybe cover some of these little spots with some dirt, you know, just to make it kind of lived in. This is like the most boring way to paint these containers, but probably airbrushing would be a lot faster too. I mean, if you got a whole bunch of these to do, I wouldn't recommend using just a small brush like I'm doing. I'm just kind of slapping this together. If you can't do this with stuff you got around the house, then I don't know what to say. There's any myriad of ways to make yourself some kind of little package. Now, on the one where I put a flat side on it, in other words, I took one of these and I just put a flat portion on there. The reason I made it flat instead of a double up like this thing is with that flat one, what I'm going to end up doing is either letting it sit flat on the surface of the terrain board, right? Or I'm going to put magnets on it, or maybe some sort of little attachment in the center. And that's going to be part of a much larger vessel. And when I mean vessel, I mean, let's say, just to give you a kind of a visual, let's say this is some kind of transport, right? Like this represents a spaceship, and this represents the spaceship cockpit, right? Let's get down in there. Okay, and it's a heavy transport. So what I want to do is have some flat sides here so that this heavy transport can have large shipping containers that mount onto it and can be removed. So maybe I might have a little spaceship that comes over here and like pulls these off and like, you know, sets them down on the whatever location they're going to set them in. And then maybe I could make them stackable. Well, not stackable like that, but yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I haven't really decided, but yeah, the idea is these will be shipping containers that will be used for multiple purposes. So not just as terrain pieces. Like I said, maybe you could use it as some sort of water filtration system, an air filtration, a generator, maybe some kind of battery box container, alien technology, who knows, whatever you want to use it as. They just have such cool shapes. There's just so many things you can probably get away with doing. You know, and it doesn't mean you have to paint it all one color. In other words, let's say I did want to make this into some sort of alien power or futuristic power generator. Well, I could paint all of these little squares in here, a black or silver, and then these small runs that you see coming off of them, paint them a different color, like maybe red. And they could represent like some sort of cabling coming off of those MOSFETs or whatever you want to refer to them as. But yeah, there's all kinds of possibilities there. You could also paint, you know, company logos on the side, space magnets are us, whatever. Just ideas, things you can do with different kinds of paint and bits of plastic. But today, this one's just going to be a plain old shipping container. Could have made it blue. And I think I'm going to kind of fashion these after the type you might see on a big modern contemporary shipping container, a big boat. In other words, some are yellow, some are red. There isn't one they're not all the same color, right? They might paint some green or something else. I don't know the exact purpose of that. If that's to designate specific types of cargo, or if that's just a kind of an aesthetic thing from the company that made it. Maybe if you know about that, you can tell me. Yes. Interesting idea. But for your purposes, maybe you could color coordinate them. Like blue means plastic shipping or medical supplies. Green might be military stuff. Red might be food. You know, yellow could be, what could yellow be? Dry goods, clothing, who knows? I was thinking of doing something like that for my little sci-fi comic I'm still working on. But that's a long ways off. I need time to do stuff like that, and frankly, I just don't always have the time. Oh, look at that. If you run into a little spot where it starts to separate, grab yourself some glue and just shove it in there. I just had some glue here. Let's see here. There's some glue. Some glue. These are actually surprisingly durable once you've got them all put together. What I was going to recommend is if you do make something like this, you can also modular units with strong magnetic fields. Yeah, sure, whatever you want. Can be anything you like. What I was going to recommend, especially with plastics that are very thin and kind of crunchy like this, what I've noticed is on the ones that I've used to scrape paint on or rinse my brushes, that acrylic paint, once it dries, it's like a hard vinyl, and it actually adds a level of structural stability to this stuff, because as it dries, it creates kind of this cakey film that keeps the plastic from caving in. It actually makes it a little thicker. So if you find that the plastic that you're using is really, really thin, hit it with a coat of cheap acrylic paint. Just blob a big old piece of acrylic paint in there and let it dry overnight, and I guarantee you it won't be as flimsy. Oh, we're making some progress. This is where I talk like Werner Herzog, and I tell you that I'm making progress. Uh, I was just watching a documentary, or actually part of a documentary, a bunch of stuff about Werner Herzog and Klaus Kinski. That guy was a nut. But yeah, I don't know. Just something about the way Werner Herzog talks. He's got this whispery voice with the German accent. I don't know. I can't do his accent, but it's just hilarious to listen to. Still can't get over that he was in The Mandalorian. Oh, did I spoil it? No, he was in season 1. That was a long time ago. If you haven't seen it, you should probably see it. It's already looking like something. Ever wonder if something's going to look good? Just paint it all solid color and see what happens. It'll give you a better impression. And don't worry about stuff like this, where it's caved in and all crunchy. That just gives it a lot more character, makes it look used. Because, I don't know if you've ever been around these types of containers. The Army uses them. Big, and when I say not, obviously they don't use these, but they do use, or used to use, a lot of very hard polymer shipping containers for things like portable tents. I don't know if it was Raytheon or who else made those, but all kinds of things like munitions and portable hospitals, portable kitchens, things that you could store in these big, huge, thick, heavy containers. And they really actually resembled this, to be honest. Go on eBay, see if you can find some. That might also give you some ideas for how to paint these. If you want to go that route, if you want to go the military route. I would say for commercial stuff, you know, your company, you're selling stuff, you probably want to stick with bright colors. Most companies don't just paint their stuff olive drab. That's sort of a thing reserved for the military, I think. Unless you are the emperor of mankind and you have an entire battalion of soldiers, super soldiers in ceramite armor that just want to paint everything blue like Smurfs, then yeah, you could do that too. Speaking of which, and I know I've mentioned this a bunch of times, and I promise I'll get around to it. I've been wanting to make my own kind of like, for those of you that are into 40K or Games Workshop stuff, I know. If you're not into it, it's kind of hard to talk about or listen to somebody talking about. It's like, oh God, not now. But I do want to make my own little Space Marine chapter. I've been planning one forever. I had one built many moons ago. Let's just call it decades. And yeah, I wanted to get back into that. Maybe not so much playing the game. I always liked the models, painting them and converting them. I did like playing for a while, but man, when that game is what led me to want to build or make my own game, and not because I just loved it so much. And it's not like I hated it. I really liked that game. But one of the things I disliked about it was you needed so many darn miniatures to play a game, and they cost so much money. The higher the points went, the longer the games took. It was just, it just got out of hand. When you're spending $1,000 on a board game full of miniatures, you spent literally thousands of hours painting. It's a bit much. It's just a bit much. Never show the what? I didn't see that. The panties under the primer coat. I'm not really sure what you're saying. I'm gonna have to look at that again. Look too bulky. Oh. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to do is get into doing some Gundam stuff. That's another one I've been promising for a long time. But hey, it takes time to make some of these big projects, and I don't have a lot of that, unfortunately. It's one of the commodities I don't have a high stock in. Don't have a ton of time resources. So it's kind of like, well, I kind of pick and choose what I can with the time I've got to do what I can, or something like that. Whatever. All right, that looks pretty blue. Pretty blue. Pretty blue. We'll let that dry for a little bit. Let's get our spaceship out of the way. I hope that you guys understand where I was going with that. It's a bit conceptual. Let me move this out of the way. We'll let that dry. I should probably rinse that. I want to see if there's nothing drinking water in here. No. Not fridge. What's in here? All right. Well, give me a second. Let me rinse this off. Let me see if this has gotten any drier. It still feels kind of sticky. You can see it's a little bit of a sheen. Yeah. Life. You know, in some cases, you could probably almost leave some of the stuff showing through just because it looks like some old faded box. Like they've reused it and just painted it really badly. I'll be right back, guys. And we're back. But if you're curious, some of the weird stuff I've got cooking on the horizon in terms of projects, yeah, I've got some little Gundam models I'm going to work on. I've got some Space Marine stuff I'm going to work on. Got some seaweed I'm going to work on. Mr. Voidbringer, don't tell anybody this. It's a secret. It's a super high secret. I am working on a life-size puppet. That's right. Wait, did I already say that? I think I already said that on Instagram. Maybe it's not a secret. It's kind of a secret. It's not a secret. It's just something I have been working on that I really haven't had an opportunity to delve into too much. But basically, oh yeah, and the plan was to finish this guy. Haven't had a chance to finish him. He'll get finished. But here's his progress thus far. Yeah, he stands on his own too. Or he used to. I'll put some little weights in his feet or something. Ooh, magnets would be good. He's already got magnets on his head. This is for his visor. But anyway, yeah. Gonna finish this guy. Leave me alone. And then I'm making a kind of how do I describe this? So you know, you're familiar with the Bot Beast, my little mascot character, the little half robot, half monster. I'm making a puppet, like a big life-size puppet of that with blinking eyes and a little Auspex green mouth, and then, you know, some sharp teeth, and the mouth part's going to be like be able to talk, but this one's not. It's going to just have a blinking light. And then maybe some gloves, like robot glove, monster glove. You know, just for grins. I don't know. I always wanted to make a puppet. Oh, this guy? Yeah, if you've ever seen Star Wars or The Mandalorian, the more recent films, or if you want to, look up Babu Freak or the word Anzellan, Anzellan. That's the creature this is. And yeah, they're basically little space engineers. This one's kind of naked, but he's going to get a little pouch and some tools. I'm making it so his hands can grip stuff. See? Well, when he's done, he'll be able to hold some little accessory tools. And hopefully not fall over like he's been doing lately, but you know, he's got a long way to go. Not a long, I wouldn't say a long way to go. He's about 90% done. I just need to finish him off, add some details, his clothing, paint him. All right, let's say 70%. But if you like making stuff that's indestructible, man, I gotta tell you, this material is awesome for that, because you can just, I know this is gonna be jarring for some of you. Yeah. You know, if you just wanted to get a little bit abusive. Oh! Sorry, buddy. Sorry. I don't recommend doing that with all your figures, though. That would be bad. But just go show you can make these kind of durable. You don't have to make them into out of a 20-pound piece of polymer clay or whatever. Oh, look, I broke him. I did break him. So part of the, okay, here, this is actually a really good example of why this gets coated later with a, here's a little crack there. Why I coat these later, the abuse. I coat these with a sealant that keeps the foam clay from getting too brittle. And what happens is, like, this is really hard right now, actually. If the foam clay gets brittle, you introduce the possibility that cracks might occur like this. Now, it does have a little flexibility, but when it starts to dry, especially if it's kind of thin like this was, it will get very brittle and it can actually dry. So, I mean, crack. So you want to make sure that when you've done this stuff, you put in the detail, you coat it with that base coat. I use this Cosflex stuff. Again, not sponsored, but man, this stuff works great. It's what I used on the Molduga. This guy, if you haven't seen him, I've been posting him everywhere. This is made out of the exact same stuff. So yeah, this stuff is amazing. Makes it very, very durable. It's also super easy to repair because I can just literally slice this arm off and glue it back on, no problem, and then just put some more stuff on it. But yeah, good reason to have that coating on and not let these sit around to dry for a year like this one has. It's got a little flexibility. He's actually hollow, by the way. All right, back to this. It feels pretty dry. All right, let's give it a little shot of dry brush. Let's put this glue up before it dries out. Let's see. We'll use this. Let's see, I need some water. Put some water in that. All right, so what we're going to do, pretty straightforward operation, right? I'm just going to mix a little bit of this blue with a little bit of this white to get a slightly lighter color. And then kind of dry brush all over this, get it nice and scuffy. Then I'm going to hit it with a kind of a wash and see how that looks. So let's do that first. And again, you don't need a ton of brushes for this stuff, guys. I'm using the same brush. If you don't have a ton of money to spend, or you don't want to waste a bunch of money or materials on making this kind of thing, just get some cheap brushes. This is not a Gold Demon Award winning project. This isn't like something that you're going to have to be trying to showcase your epic godlike painting skill. You know, you're just making terrain. It's going to get kicked around. You're going to probably end up dropping it on the ground or something. Another thing you can do too is glue some magnets to the inside of this, or even on the outside. If you can get some of the little rare earth magnets, you can glue it out here and just fill it in, paint it with everything else. Or just put some little pieces of metal weights like washers. Washers are super cheap. You can get 100 for like $10 or 1,000. I don't know what it is. It's something ridiculous off Amazon. Just find the cheapest metal washer they'll ship to you in a large package and just glue a bunch of them to the inside, and that'll give it some weights to keep it from flying off the game table. Pigments and paints. This was $1. This right here was maybe $1.50 tops. You can get them at any Walmart or Target or Hobby Lobby or any of those little stores. It's just a craft paint. It's acrylic. It's not high pigment. You don't need to use your Vallejo or your AKs or your Monuments or all those other expensive paints, or God forbid Citadel paints. Again, you're not using this to paint some super highly chiseled out flesh tones. You're just making terrain. So let's get a little bit less on here. Yeah. And I'm not going for like a super... Remember, this is just a rough piece of luggage, basically, that gets abused, thrown into warehouses, blown up on tarmac when the enemy attacks. Maybe the foreman at the shipping place had a little bit too much fun the night before, and he just drove his vehicle into it. So don't worry about this thing looking super sharp and awesome. It's gonna be something that takes a lot of abuse. All I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to get the impression that there's some kind of dimension or depth to this. It's kind of hard to tell on camera. Let me see if I can get a better view. So here's where I haven't really painted anything on it yet, and this is kind of where I have. You see that kind of, you can almost tell better there. Oh, grim dark stuff, yeah. Grim dark stuff is fine. The point of what I'm trying to make is, if you really want to go crazy with the details, you know what? Go for it. I've heard people refer to like what I'm doing as slap chop painting. I don't know where that term came from. I've been doing this for 40 years. But, a little showing your age, huh? But, yeah, my whole thing has always been like, okay, you got some paint. You got something you need to paint quick. You put a dark base coat on it. You highlight whatever edges are there. Then you put a wash on it. And then you go back and you kind of clean up the details. And that's basically just the fast and dirty way to paint something, really. And like I said, you're not going to win any awards with it. But it'll at least be passable on the gaming table or on your shelf, or for whatever purpose you're using it. If you want to enter a contest, okay, well, then you can go get all crazy with things like color theory and stuff like that. You want to do that sort of thing. But I think you guys can probably see at this point. Let me see if I can get some better light on this. It's starting to look like it's a solid piece of something, right? Not just this little clear plastic doodad. And that's what we're going for. So let's do a little bit more. I'm going to get into these little crevices here. And at this point, I'd probably start thinking about, if I'm going to put some labels on it, where am I going to put them, right? Oops. Like I said, don't really worry about damaging it too much. All right, let's do this. All right, so I can do this with some thin down paint. If you want to spend a little bit of time using a wash, you can. I've got a couple of both. Let me see if I've got my super thin black wash here. You can also use inks. And I'm not afraid to mess this one up to show you how to do those. Let's see, we've got some blue wash, some black wash. All right. So let's say you don't want to spend a bunch of money on washes. No big deal. It's not that big a deal. If you got some old varnish laying around, you can use that. And when I say old varnish, I mean like literally old paint varnish. Let's get yourself a crappy brush and smear it all around. That's one way to go. You can use something like these Vallejo washes. This one's a black. They also come in different colors. This one's a blue. You can use inks like this here. I like these for panel lining and things on a little mecha. Or you could use, if I can find it, I thought I had it here. You can use, is it in that cardboard box? Let me check. Well, tell you what, I'll just make some. I think I have it here. All right, here we go. You can do something like this. Now, I've got this, again, super cheap. These are like maybe $1 for a huge, I mean, what is this? 2 full ounces of paint. I mean, I painted that 33-inch lizard with something like this. And it was probably like maybe this much paint to paint that whole thing. I mean, it was almost like you can paint a whole army with that stuff. Again, but if you don't have a wash, you can get this cheap stuff or an old one that is getting kind of towards the bottom, and you can fill it with water, literally just water. If you have like a, you put a little bit in here. Let me see if I got some I could spill out over here. This is just basically like a homebrew paint thinner or a black wash. See how liquidy and fluid that got? So that's just one way I could make a wash. Sometimes I'll add like acrylic airbrush thinner. But again, if you don't have that, almost anything works. Anything that'll thin it down. I want to say, what else can you try to use? You might try using some kind of oil base kind of fluid. Maybe mineral oil or something. I don't know. There's lots of things you can try. All I'm saying is experiment. But see what I'm doing there? And then just kind of get a little rag and just dab over it. If you're into that, what you said, grimy kind of, it doesn't have to be everywhere. You can just concentrate on areas where you think it might be the best to put it on. You know, maybe something that takes a lot of abuse. The tops and bottoms of these things, I would imagine, would, or the sides where the locks are. So that's what a cheap one will do, right? A cheap wash. And it's not great. Like I said, it's okay. See, I got lots of dirty and grimy. Now, what does this wash look like? Let's test it out. Clean some of the old one off. Okay. Again, I have no end of these containers. So there's the Vallejo wash. First thing you're gonna notice is this stuff tends to like pour into little cracks a lot easier. So here's a nice clean side. It's a little thinner, and you notice it doesn't leave that sort of thick, dark coating either. But it's still giving it a nice grimy wash. So it's just formulated different. The other one is probably a little too thick to be a good wash. Maybe even thin it down some more. You could even just put some in there if you wanted to get a good amount and just smooth it around. See? A little bit better than that. But arguably, this isn't that bad either. And I could just do a whole line right here and just smear it around. Most of the time, this stuff, you just want gravity to take over and let it go to the cracks it's going to go to. In my case, I'd like to make it, if I want to make it look dingy and smoky and beat up, I'll just put it everywhere. And what I find is that if you've dry brushed it, it's going to interact with those rough edges from the dry brush and maybe even hold a little bit better. Because it's got some tooth, so then you end up with kind of like this nice sort of rough, dirty, scraped up, hard plastic look. You know, maybe some of these dents. Get a little bit more. And if you see it, if you accidentally squish it too hard and you get a dent like that, leave it. Like I said, adds character, makes it look more real. Let's get some in there. Basically, I don't want anything bright on here. I also don't want it to look too overpainted and too streaky. It's really just up to you what looks best. I always say, like, you know what? I mean, I always see a lot of painters online. I see this all the time. They're like, yeah, you got to do it this way, and this is the best way to do this. And okay, there's a fine line, I think. This is just my opinion, between introducing someone how to do a particular type of technique and just point blank telling them this is how you should paint your figures. You can see some of the white peeping through where I've scratched it a little harder. That's okay. That actually looks good. That's what I want. In fact, I'm going to put some more white on here in a little bit. I mean, I think it's great that, you know, you're learning new types of techniques to paint stuff, but if it's at some point, if the person telling you how to do it is telling you that's the best and or only way you should do it, you know, almost like I start tuning out at that point. I watch videos from other YouTubers and Twitch people, and you know, and there are some very opinionated folks out there that will tell you, like, nah, that's crap. You know. And let's face it, if you're a beginner, you're not gonna put out like some magnificent looking work, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. The expectation isn't that you're not gonna be able to do something that's quite at the level that, you know, let's say you see in the photographs and magazines or on video, and you know, the miniature makers websites. Their whole packaging scheme is like, make it look as good as it can possibly look. You want to make that eye candy to sell the miniature, right? This is getting nice and beat up. Now I'm going over with some, what I'd like to say are just like kind of edge highlights that are not everywhere, just on kind of like some areas that I want to draw a little bit more interest in or focus to. Like around these little crunchy things, I want to make them a little brighter around the edge there. You know, pick out some of these edges. Like if I were a box and I got kicked around, what would take the most damage, right? Look at that. See? Yeah. Might even go over with some of this with some brown or some other color just to give it kind of that dirty, it's been used look. See? Real easy, guys. And I haven't switched brushes one time. All right, so I think at this point, what I'm going to do is, now that I've kind of peeked out of the little spots I like with the kind of my little edge highlights and my extra dirty grime, my dusty, dirty, nasty little spots. All right. I'm going to go over these edges here, just a few of them. Maybe I'll add something interesting like a red dot or or like a little opener or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll put a label in here. Let's do that. Let's add a little label. So for that, I am going to switch brushes because I want to do something small. And it doesn't have to be a super tiny brush. It's going to be something as thick as this, as long as it's around and it comes to a point. So I'm just going to pretend I'm making like a little white label here. Oops, let me go down. Doesn't even have to be white. I could make this any color really. But I kind of like this little spot here. And I don't care if it's opaque at this point. In other words, it doesn't have to be super solid. It can be kind of transparent. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just kind of filling out the space. Because it's going to be kind of broken in, worn, used label. So there we go. There's the labeling area. And maybe I'll go back over it a little bit more with some white to make it just a little bit more white. Define the edges just a little bit more. And again, guys, when you're painting this stuff, you can add as much or as little detail as you want. There's no hard, fast rule for this stuff. Just make it, look as good as you want it to look. And if it doesn't look great or exactly like you want it to look the first time around, oh well, whatever. These aren't the kind of things that you're gonna care a whole lot about. You can practice on them. Heck, if you want to, you can always come back and paint them again. You can keep adding new layers to it. That's good enough. Now, I'm just going to add some kind of logo or maybe some writing. For that, I'll need a little bit of black. This is the problem with some of this cheap paint. You get this kind of gooey vinyl junk that gets stuck in there from the lid. Ew, yuck. Look at that. Look at this. Nasty. So, let me see if I can pull that out of there. Okay, looks like I got it. All right, so let me see if I can get this back to a point again that's usable. That's kind of pointy-ish, right? Yeah. So we're gonna do some, I think what I'm gonna do is put a little border on it first. And then for writing, I'm just going to put some kind of weird alien script. Well, doesn't have to be fancy. And just for kicks, I'm just going to add a little red, like it's a warning label or something, just right in here. Uh-oh. Maybe it's a company logo or something, right? Yeah, sure, whatever. And you know what? I like the black, but I want to put some, I wanted to put some kind of metallic elements on here. So let's do some black on these little edges here. These little dudes. Just a little bit. I'm going to use a thicker black though. Let me see. See, I'm also not as worried about this paint drying out because, again, it's cheap. It's not like I'm made of money, but I'm not going to have a panic attack if it dries up a little bit. Usually you just put a few drops of water in these things and shake them up and they're good to go. And if you got a large area to cover, yeah, they're pretty useful that way. So what do you think I'm going to do with this stuff here? I'm going to paint it silver, probably. Not metallic silver, just silver. Grimy, dark silver. I'm going to paint these little edges too. These are kind of cool. I like them. Oh, look. See that? It's like a little triangle. Let's paint that one. Let's paint that one red. I think that's what this is, isn't it? Oh, maybe I should have done that. Oh, well. You can make all the mistakes you want. It's yours. I might do the next set of them yellow or some other funky color. Plan on making a bunch of these little boxes. If I had it to do all over again and I had to make a whole bunch of them, I probably wouldn't go through all this trouble. Let's darken this stuff in here. I might probably might have just done it like primer gray, quick dry brush of some white or light gray, and then a quick wash, and that probably would have been a lot faster. But I like color. I think color is, I like adding color to a tabletop. Nobody wants to play on a tabletop that's just all gray. I mean, maybe you do, I don't know. That's up to you, but if it's me, I don't want to play on something that's all gray. That's boring. And I'm not being super careful. I mean, you can see there's like all kinds of edges I'm missing. It's going to lend itself to the abuse of this box. Yeah, that's the excuse I'm going with. Okay, so now I painted all these little doodads black. Let's rinse some of this stuff off. I want to get that red back out. I'm going to do those little corner triangles. I just like the idea of them being red. I don't know why. It just, sue me, right? Don't worry, we're going to get to the silver stuff in a bit. This little guy, I just want to make it have a red triangle in there. Yeah, I'm not even worried about it not being super opaque. It's fine. I just kind of like the way that looks. I don't know about you guys. Uh-oh, looks like I missed a couple spots. That's all right, no biggie. And if you really wanted to go crazy, you could maybe glue on a little piece of plastic or a panel right here with a little control set, maybe a screen or some buttons. And you'll notice some paint's coming off in some areas where my fingerprints are because I didn't even bother letting it dry in some cases. Not a big deal. All right, let's clean that up. Let me get those two spots that were in black I forgot to get. And then I'm just going to put silver on it. I'm going to call this done. Maybe I'll dry brush it a little bit more. Can never make it dusty enough. I think we'll do some brown though. We're going to do some brown dirt in there. Maybe I'll fleck it. You know, like people love doing that. I don't know why. It's like, oh, did you? They're applying that fancy technique where they sprinkle. Oh, here we go. These are the ones I missed. And like I said, yeah, check this out. Like I said, there's any number of things you can make with plastic, like vacuum formed plastic containers. This was the beginning of a little warehouse. I wanted to make it look like it was concrete, like a bunker. I was going to put some we can glue some doors here. Add some little technical details, and then you have like kind of like a 1/72 scale, or even maybe 1/100th or 144 scale if you're into Gundams. That could be a hangar at an air base. That could be a bunker. Could be anything. So, and then, you know, put some grass in here, or maybe you want to put, you could put tarmac, you know, some kind of texture. Could be stone. But yeah, this is just the beginning. I mean, that was just, it was holding I think some kind of vitamin bottle or something that my wife bought. And all I did is I spray painted it black and then just kind of modeled it over with a couple of dry brushes and different shades of gray to get this kind of stony concrete effect. So again, lots of stuff you can do. You don't have to, if you're just looking for little easy terrain pieces, I think this is here's another one. This is just a glass vial. It's got an LED in it, some bits of, I think this came from a soap dispenser. Most of this came from a soap, this spring, I think came from, what did it come from? some other kind of pump like thing. There's the top of one. And then what I did is I ran a battery with an LED, and it's just a little candle wick battery, and it just blinks. So it's just this kind of random blinking kind of little pole thing. Why not? Just for the heck of it. And I just added the red just to kind of give it some, make it stand out a little bit, make it interesting. And masked off this part here just to add a little bit more paint. Maybe I could have put a brighter LED in there or a filtered color. I might do that later. But all I did is I just, you can get these pretty cheap off Amazon. It's just an all-in-one, has a switch on it. You can wire up to two different, I don't know how many devices, but there's two positive and negative contacts on here. You just slide a watch battery in here, I guess at 2032. And then that's it. I just kind of, I can turn it off, turn it on. There it is, off. Simple. There's these guys. These came from one of those little, you've probably seen them. They're come like those ear things that they use in there. This isn't a dirty one, obviously. Hey, you want to use a dirty one, that's your hygiene, whatever. But you can get one of these, primer it, paint it bright orange, and it's a little pylon, right? Little warning pylon. Or paint it red, stripes, whatever. Bright yellow. But to me, when I saw it, it looked like a pylon. You could also use this for the front of a spaceship. It could be a thruster in the back. It could be a siren. It could be the front of a barrel. I mean, the part of the barrel where it connects to like a tank turret, and you maybe an extended barrel there. It could be the base of something else, like a street lamp. Yeah, anything. You know, whatever it could be, an exhaust, whatever it is. And then finally, if you haven't already seen these, this is an entire robot just made of garbage. These are little Kool-Aid squirt container tops, a light bulb, a Christmas light bulb, some fork tongs, some springs, some spoons, an antenna. Oops, did I just break that? I guess I did. I don't even remember where these came from for the thrusters. This is just rope for the cable. Looks like some paint came off of there. So this one's been abused quite a bit. You can see that there's some little twisty doodads for electrical stuff. Yeah, all kinds of things you can do out of just junk you find around, laying around. But today we're doing the shipping containers. All right, let's put some, let's get some more light on here. You want to get a little bit more light this way. And now we're going to put some metallic, like this one. The Vallejo metallic's pretty fun. Let's see, is that silver? Smoke. Black. Smoke sounds interesting. Gold. Silver. There we go. So I got some silver. Again, doesn't have to be Vallejo. They make silver in this cheap stuff too, and it actually is pretty decent. I just don't happen to have any. This is a smoke color. No idea what it is, but sounds interesting. Maybe I'll use it to make it a little more gooey. Yeah, I'm a little bit abusive with my stuff. I don't have a lot of storage right now, so things are kind of, you know, cramped up. I mean, there's a contest mecha buried under that one. There's some more up here. I don't know if you can see them. Let me see if I can zoom in. Some more little robots. There's one. There's a couple others. Looks like 1, 2, 3 right there. Yeah, there's all kinds of junk on here. Some projects, things I'm working on. Yeah. I mean, I literally have this guy. I just have that guy sitting on a chair because I can't do anything with it, and it's going to my nephew, and he's coming in probably on the, what's the date today? I guess he's coming in next weekend. At least he got to see it before it got completely finished, so he knew it was coming. It's kind of like, Merry Christmas, and I'm taking that back away from you. Sorry, not sorry. Oh well. So yeah, we're just gonna put a little dab of silver in here. Bloop, bloop, because Vallejo paint's expensive. And let me get a little brush that's nice and crunchy. And we're just gonna put some silver on some edges here. Okay. I was going to do this with some crunchy brown, but I'm going to try this smoke stuff because it looks kind of interesting. It looks like it's got a nice little dirty, grimy, oily brown color, right? Oh yeah, I like that. And all I'm going to do is just kind of like dab some on the edges. See, like this. Nothing too crazy. Anywhere I think that it might have, whoops, it might have gotten dirty. Maybe just clean it up a little bit. about getting anything on here, so we'll get that dirty just on purpose. Make it look lived in. Oops, sorry. So there's the label. We'll just put some dirt around here, smear it all around. And there you have it. Let's see, these red look a little too bright. You can just go over it with some of this smudgy brown stuff. And again, you could probably just use brown varnish, watered down dark paint, maybe brown mixed with black or something. If you want to go crazy and scrape this thing up, you can get yourself a little wire brush maybe, or a stiff hog bristle brush, and rub it all around and scrape some of that paint off. Whatever you want to do. But yeah, there you go. There's your kind of grimy sci-fi shipping container. Boom. Complete with alien labeling. So once again, eat more seaweed. Grab a couple of these. Stack them up. I got tons of them. You know, you could use them as that. You could maybe mount them to the back of a vehicle. You can use them as standalone buildings or little generators or whatever. So, pretty straightforward. Like I said, not super hard. I took a little more time on this one just for grams and kind of chit chat in between, but realistically, in the time it took me to paint this one with all the details, I could have painted all of these. And why is that? Because you just do it assembly line style. You paint this one while the base coat's drying, you put another base coat on that one. While that's drying, you go to the next one. While that's drying, you go to the next one. You could probably efficiently do maybe 5, 10 of these even in about an hour to this level. Which I'm not saying this is like a high level, but you know, it's got some details on it. It's dirty and grimy. You could do it in different colors too. There's nothing to stop you. You can also just do half-sized ones like this, where it's just covered up on the bottom with something like a piece of cardstock. Like I said, if you don't have any styrene laying around, I use the cereal box. You know, I literally just got a cereal box. I cut a piece of cardboard out of it and I glued it to the bottom of this thing. Now it's a shipping container, it's a generator, it's whatever I want it to be. You want to make yourself a Star Wars donk droid, a power droid. Boom, stick some feet on that. Right? Let's see. I mean, that's perfect it's almost just about made for it, right? Let's see. What would he look like with some little feet? Here's some little feet I can use. I wonder if I can balance them on here. Oh, we need some. He needs like some flat square feet, right? Let's see here. Ah, perfect. Flat square feet. How to make a donk droid. That's what I should have named this. Well, there you go. There's his little feet. And here's our container. which we will perfectly balance on top. Oops. I will do this. I will do this. It will be done. I did it. Oh, yeah. I'll take the Dong Droid. Oh, I'll take that one. So there you go, guys. There's your cheap sci-fi shipping container, complete with battle damage, or, you know, a spaceship hangar guy that likes to party too much, maybe bump into it. Who knows? You could set this up on a battlefield, paint labels on it, paint controls on it, get crazy, but get the glue, get the glue. All right, sir. Well, thanks very much for stopping by. Anybody that stopped in and check this out, give me a thumbs up if you can. If you didn't like what you saw, then, you know, don't bother, but that's cool. Like and subscribe, please. See you guys later. I'm going to go ahead and drop off. I'll post some stuff on, like some photos on Instagram, and maybe I'll do a little 1-minute short of how to do this so you don't have to watch an hour and 27 minutes of me rambling on. Later.